this? Are we singing? I know you know it. We're singing. We're singing. We're singing. I love you jumped in. Happy birthday to whose birthday we're talking about? Whose birthday we're talking about?
Jensen Ackles.
Jensen Ackles, everybody. That's how we're going. Are you staying? I'm staying. All right, he's staying. We're going. Thank you, everybody. We're going. Richard Spade. Brock Benedict.
And I'm leaving right now. I'm leaving. Going.
Take it easy, buddy. Take it easy.
Yeah.
We love them.
Got the back.
Yeah, you get the back. And the great beard. There's a lot going on. Just take it easy. I know. It's fine. I thought you were gone. Didn't know you were still here. There's nothing but love. Rob Benedict, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Benedict. I don't know why I'm moving the furniture around.
So the
I
people
just
in
feel
the
like I
back
need
can
to.
see.
What?
So the people in the back can see you better.
The people in the back. Yeah. What's up, people in the back? Can you see me? Well, I can see you. We have a saying on set. It says if you can't see the camera can't see you. And a lot of times we have to say that to guest stars that come on our show, which you think that they would teach that wherever they learn how to act. Although I didn't go to acting school, so I guess I just had to find out. But it's, it's one of those things where I learned early on, because there were people that I worked with that weren't afraid to tell me what to do and how to do it. My first day on set at Days of Our Lives, you guys familiar with that show at all? It's a soap opera series in the States, and I had the pleasure of working with an amazing actress and woman, Deidre Hall, who played my mother, and the first thing she ever said to me was, "Know your lines and stay out of my light." And I did. And she loved me for it. And she was a darling to me for 3 years. But yeah, I learned a lot. And I guess if you're willing to learn, there's a lot you can learn. You just have to be willing. What do they say? If you're talking, then you're not listening. And if you're not listening, you're not learning. And I'm still talking. So I haven't learned anything in the last 90 seconds. Let's have somebody else talk. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
So I have a very serious question. Yeah.
All right, let's start off with a bang. Woo!
Kinda. You travel a lot and you fly a lot. And I'm a person who's very much afraid of flying, and I have always a terrible experience with this. So maybe you can tell how you prepare yourself for every flight in the airplane, or maybe you can give me some advice so I can mentally prepare myself every time.
What is it about flying that scares you?
Getting up and landing, it's like freaking out. Like,
Okay. What about the turbulence? The shaking?
it terrifies a little, but
A little?
not that much.
All right. Let me attack all three of those real quick. Turbulence, as this was explained to me by a professional pilot, air is much like water. So imagine instead of an airplane, you're on a boat, and another boat goes by you. What does that do? That creates waves. Your boat then goes over those waves. It's the same thing in the air. That's all it is. It's just waves in the air. It's not, oh my gosh, we're gonna crash because the plane can't handle it. No, you're just going over some air bumps. That's all it is. The landing and the taking off and the landing, those are tricky, and those are when you want really, really good pilots.
Exactly.
Problem is, you don't know if they're really good pilots or not. And yeah, you generally find out in the end if they're good pilots or not. I've been on a lot of scary flights. I fly I fly on an average 2 times a week. I'm in an airplane. And I've had very scary landings. I've had landings where we're actually turned sideways as we come in, and then at the last second. I've had maybe a dozen bails on landings, like where we're coming in and turning and turning and turning, and the pilot's like, nope. I've even had a landing that was so bad that they bailed out of it and changed airports. And we were a few hundred feet off the ground when the pilot called it. And I thanked him profusely. I will say that aircraft pilots I know in America, and I assume that because FAA regulations, are they worldwide? I don't know if they're worldwide.
Federal. So
That's federal. So federal aviation.
can't be.
I know that there are regulations worldwide for every airline. The pilots, not only the pilots, but the aircrafts have to meet strenuous tests and strenuous. They constantly have to continue to learn and get updated. So you're safer being on an airplane than you are being in your car. If that makes you feel better.
Thank you.
All right. And she's like, I'm never driving again. Yeah. Thank you. Hi.
My question is, you had the audition for Samuel Trisha, and I want to know, how did you play this part in Supernatural?
It was kind of like this. Hey, Dean. You're so much cooler than me. Can you just teach me how to do everything? Because I'm stupid. It's kind of like that. And the response I got was, you nailed it, your hair's just not long enough. So, hi.
Thank you for giving me the chance to talk to you. My question is, how can Dean be so cool, earthy, ready to action, well-trained, and eating all that trash food, and drinking an apple pie, and so on?
Genetics. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. It's, you know, I think it's how we all wish things could be. We could be ready for a fight at any given moment. We could run for miles. We could never get tired. We could be ready for violence, ready for love, ready for anything at any given time, and then eat whatever we want and still look the same. So I think it's just, it's make-believe. The best kind of make-believe. Yes, thank you. Hi.
Hi, Jensen. First of all, about the audition, how dare you?
What's that?
About the audition, how dare you?
Hey, look, I got the role I wanted. I'm good to go.
But you're perfect for it. For Dean.
Wait, what?
And Gareth's perfect as well.
Exactly. This is when the joke has gone too far. And now, how do I reel it back in? No, it's fine. Hi.
Right, I was going to ask you about the episode of Most Holy Man, the one with the mob setting. I thought it was a great episode and it looked like fun. I just wondered what you enjoyed the most.
You're going to have to remind me.
It's the one that Bob Singer wrote, I think, and you had to go and get the blood of the Most Holy Man, and you went to get St. Peter's skull. And,
yes.
and the double cross and all that.
Yeah, what did I most enjoy about that one? The gunfight.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just because we often go and we do the reconnaissance and we talk to the, so-and-so who gives us this information, and then we go and we talk to this person who gives us this information, and then we put the clues together, and then we go and fight the bad guy, and we solve the case, and we win, and we save the people, and that's how we do it. But it's rare when there's so many different bad guys involved that we don't quite know who to trust or who is the bad guy, and I like that it was kind of like an old mobster movie. I also liked coming in slow motion with 2 guns and just like emptying the chamber. So I don't know, the action part of that particular episode I liked, and I also liked that it kind of had a slightly different feel to it. There was it was a little bit more old-timey storytelling.
Pentecostal.
And that's what I enjoyed about it. I will say that there's a scene in that particular episode where Dean pulls Sam aside after we're talking with the priest, and we discuss whether or not to trust this priest, and Sam brings up the Impala.
Yeah. I love that.
The rest of that scene was not scripted. And it didn't happen until, I heard it in my head in rehearsal, because Sam's like, what if somebody stole the Impala? And then we finished, and then I think my response was like, okay, yeah, okay. And then he's like, wouldn't you want to do anything you could to get it back? Wouldn't you give away everything? And he's like, yeah, right, okay, all right, fine. Let's go talk to the guy. That's how I think the scene was. I think it was written, something like that. And then in rehearsal, when he said, "What if somebody stole the Impala?" It was like, that's not how Dean would react. He wouldn't ever stop thinking about the fact that he just said somebody stole the Impala. And that scene went on a lot longer than what aired. We continued to go for a while. I got pretty mad. And there were torture devices that I was talking about at some point. And anyway, the I would kill him, I would kill everyone, or something like that. There was a few different takes, and but anyway, that was one of my favorite parts about that episode. Was just the way it set the characters up to really be rich. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, there you. Hi.
Okay, my favorite moment from this season is when Dean says to Sam, I need a win to go on. So first of all, I want to tell you that you are my win. And then I want to ask you, have you ever felt like him? And if you did, what was your win, if you want to share it with us?
Sure. I mean, I think anybody who's lived, a decent life has had struggles and had loss and had tough times and felt down and out and needed some inspiration. And I've certainly been there. I've certainly had my fair share of trials and tribulations. I've lost a few people in my life, very close friends. One in particular was a roommate, died in a horrible car accident when I was younger, in my 20s, early 20s. And I was with him on the trip, and I was following him. He was driving his car, and I was driving my car. It was pretty bad. And I remember coming back home after that, the whole ordeal kind of started to iron itself out, and we were on a road trip. And I got home and was like walking into his room, and there were three of us living in his house. This was in California, and I just remember I remember needing some sort of like resolve and some sort of inspiration to be able to cope with this situation. And it came from my roommate, from his father, who showed up to collect his things. And he gave me some incredible motivation, and I found it within him. The fact that he was able to take the loss of his son and turn it into inspiration for somebody else, I thought was like one of the most magnificent things ever, and I used that for many, many years. Yeah. So inspiration comes in many forms. You know, the will to survive, the will to thrive, the will to keep going. It comes in many forms. You just have to be available to accept it. Yeah.